The passport was already in pieces when I lunged for her wrist. Too late. The toilet flushed, and with it went 6 months of planning, $2,000 I'd saved from tutoring gigs, and the first trip I'd ever booked entirely for myself. My sister Vanessa stood there, chest heaving, mascara smudged, looking at me like I was the one who'd done something unforgivable. "Now you'll stay," she said. Her voice was shaking. "Now you'll be here for my wedding like you're supposed to be." My name is Claire Whitman. I'm 28 years old, and until 3 minutes ago, I was 72 hours away from flying to Florence. I teach English at a community college. I live in the same town where I grew up, 10 minutes from my parents, 5 minutes from Vanessa. I've never been to Europe. I've never been anywhere that required more than a driver's license to enter. This trip was supposed to change that. It was supposed to be mine. But Vanessa's wedding is in 2 months, and apparently, my existence is required for every single second leading up to it. I looked down at the toilet. Clear water. No shreds of navy blue visible. My hands were trembling. "You flushed my passport," I said. My voice sounded far away, like it was coming from someone else's body. "You weren't listening." Vanessa crossed her arms. She was wearing the silk robe Mom bought her, the one with her new initials already embroidered on the pocket even though she hadn't married Derek yet. "I've been telling you for weeks that I need you here. The bridal shower is the week you were supposed to be gone. The final dress fitting. The tasting menu at the venue. You think I can do all that without my maid of honor? I told you about Italy in January." I was still staring at the toilet. "You set your wedding date in March. After I'd already booked everything." "A wedding is more important than a vacation, Claire." I looked up at her then. Really looked. Vanessa is 2 years younger than me, but she's always seemed older somehow. Sharper. She knew how to angle her face in photos before Instagram existed. She knew which boys to pay attention to in high school, which majors would impress people at dinner parties, which job offers to take and which to leverage. She's a pharmaceutical rep now. She makes twice what I do and works half as hard, at least from what I can see. "It's not a vacation," I said quietly. "It's something I've wanted to do since college." "Then do it after the wedding." "I can't get the money back, Vanessa. It's non-refundable. All of it." She shrugged. Just shrugged. Like $2,000 was nothing. Like my disappointment was a minor inconvenience she'd already factored into her day. "I'll talk to Derek," she said. "Maybe we can help you rebook for next year or something. But right now, I need you focused. This is the most important day of my life, and you're my sister. You're supposed to put me first." Then she walked out. Left me standing in her bathroom, staring at the toilet, trying to figure out if what just happened was real. I didn't cry. Not then. I walked downstairs, got in my car, and drove home in silence. My apartment felt smaller than usual when I opened the door. 1 bedroom, kitchen the size of a closet, living room that doubled as my office. I'd lived here for 4 years. The rent was cheap because the building was old and the neighborhood was forgettable. I'd always told myself it was temporary. Just until I saved enough to do something bigger. Go somewhere. Be someone who'd seen things. The Italy trip was supposed to be the start of that. I sat on my couch and opened my laptop. The confirmation emails were still there. Flight. Hotel in Florence for 4 nights. Train tickets to Siena and Rome. A cooking class I'd signed up for on a whim because it sounded like something a different version of me would do. Someone braver. Someone whose life wasn't entirely constructed around other people's needs. My phone buzzed. "Mom. Vanessa said you're upset. Come to dinner tomorrow. We'll talk. I didn't answer. The next day, I called the airline. The customer service representative sounded bored when I explained the situation. She put me on hold for 11 minutes, came back, and told me that without the physical passport, she couldn't verify my identity well enough to process any kind of claim or credit. I'd need to apply for an emergency replacement, which could take weeks. My flight was in 3 days. She suggested I consider travel insurance for future bookings and asked if there was anything else she could help me with. I said no and hung up. I didn't go to my parents' house for dinner. I didn't answer Vanessa's texts. I went to work, taught my classes, came home. I moved through my routines like I was underwater. My students noticed. One of them, a 19-year-old named Britt who always sat in the back and never spoke, came up after class on Thursday. "You okay, Professor Whitman?" I smiled. "Just a long week." She nodded, but she didn't look convinced. "If you ever need to, talk or whatever." "I don't know. You seem sad." I thanked her and left before my throat could tighten any further. Friday came. The day I was supposed to fly. I woke up at 4 in the morning out of habit, my body still thinking it needed to get to the airport. I lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere over the Atlantic, there was a seat with my name on it. A window seat. I'd paid extra. By noon, my mom called. "Claire, honey, you need to let this go. Vanessa feels terrible." "Does she?" "She's under a lot of stress. Planning a wedding is hard, and she's been doing most of it herself." I closed my eyes. "She has a wedding planner, Mom." "Well, it's still stressful. And you know how she gets when she's anxious. She just acted impulsively. She didn't mean to hurt you." She flushed my passport down the toilet. There was a pause. Then, "She said you weren't being reasonable. That you knew how important this time was and you planned the trip anyway just to make a point." Something cold settled in my chest. "That's what she told you. Isn't it true?" "No, it's not." Another pause. Longer this time. "Well," Mom said, "either way, it's done now. You can't go. So the best thing to do is move forward and focus on supporting your sister. She needs you, Claire. This is her time." I thought about all the times it had been Vanessa's time. Her high school graduation trip to Mexico. Her college send-off party that I helped plan while I was supposed to be studying for finals. Her engagement celebration that I coordinated because she was too busy with work. Every milestone, every moment, I'd been there. Quiet. Helpful. Proud. And when I told them about Italy, about finally doing something just for me, Vanessa had smiled and said, "That sounds nice," and then immediately started talking about centerpiece options. "I have to go," I said. "Claire." I hung up. That night, I sat at my kitchen table and made a list. Not of things to do. Of things I'd given up. Time. Money. Plans. Dreams I'd mentioned once and then quietly folded away when they didn't fit into someone else's schedule. The list was longer than I expected. I looked at it for a long time. Then I tore it up and threw it away, because seeing it all written out made me feel pathetic. But I didn't forget it. The bridal shower was on a Saturday. Vanessa had rented out a garden venue an hour outside the city, the kind of place with string lights and vintage furniture and a chalkboard sign that said asterisk. She said yes to the dress. Now let's say yes to the champagne, asterisk in perfect cursive. I arrived early because that's what the maid of honor does. I set up the gift table, arranged the name cards, made sure the catering staff knew where to put the mimosa station. Vanessa arrived 20 minutes late in a white sundress, sunglasses pushed up into her hair, laughing at something on her phone. She saw me and smiled. "Claire. Oh my God. Thank you for doing all this. You're a lifesaver." She hugged me. Quick. Perfunctory. She smelled like the expensive perfume Derek had bought her for her birthday. "Of course," I said. She pulled back and looked at me, head tilted. "Are we okay? You've been kind of distant." I thought about the passport. The toilet. The flight I didn't take. The hotel room in Florence that had been empty for a week now. "We're fine," I said. "Good." She squeezed my arm. "Because I really need you today. Derek's mom is coming, and you know how she is. I need you to run interference if she starts talking about the ceremony music again." Derek's mom arrived half an hour later. She was a tall woman with silver hair and the kind of voice that carried without effort. She cornered me by the gift table almost immediately. "Claire, dear, I need your help. Vanessa won't listen to me about the processional. She wants that awful modern song, but a wedding should have tradition. Can you talk to her?" I smiled. I think Vanessa's pretty set on her choices, Mrs. Patterson. Well, she shouldn't be. This isn't just her day, you know. It's Derek's too. And ours. We're paying for half of it. I nodded and excused myself to check on the champagne. The shower went on for 4 hours. Games. Gifts. A speech from Vanessa's college roommate about how she'd always known Vanessa would find her perfect match. I sat at the head table and smiled at the right moments. I laughed when I was supposed to. I made sure everyone's glasses stayed full. Vanessa opened my gift last. A set of Italian leather luggage I'd found on sale. I'd bought it before the passport incident, back when I still thought we were close enough that she'd appreciate the irony. She pulled it out of the box and gasped. "Claire, this is gorgeous. Oh my God, Derek and I are going to use this for the honeymoon." Everyone clapped. Vanessa hugged me again, and this time it lasted a second longer. "You're the best sister," she whispered. I smiled and said nothing. That night, I went home and looked up passport replacement procedures. Emergency processing was possible but required proof of immediate travel plans. Without a flight booked, I'd have to go through the standard channels. 4 to 6 weeks. I started the application anyway. Filled out the forms. Printed everything. Made an appointment at the federal building for the following week. It felt like something. Not much, but something. Monday morning, I got to my office early. There was a new email from the department chair. Budget cuts. They were reducing adjunct hours for the fall semester. My course load would be cut by 1 class. 20% less income. I read the email 3 times, then closed my laptop and stared out the window. My phone buzzed. Vanessa. * dress fitting Thursday at 2. Don't forget, *. I'd taken a personal day for the Italy trip. That day was Thursday. I'd never changed it back in the system because I couldn't bring myself to delete it from my calendar. Now Vanessa had scheduled her fitting for the exact day I was supposed to be in Siena. I typed back, * I have class until 3. Her reply came immediately. * Can you move it? This is the final fitting. I need you there. *. I looked at my schedule. I could technically move the class. It was a small seminar, only 8 students. They'd be flexible. * I'll see what I can do. * I wrote. * Thank you. Love you. * I moved the class. Thursday came. The bridal boutique was in the expensive part of town, the kind of street where parking costs more than my lunch budget. Vanessa was already in the fitting room when I arrived. Mom was there too, sitting on a white velvet sofa with a glass of champagne. She smiled when she saw me. "There you are." We were starting to worry. "Traffic," I said. Vanessa emerged from the fitting room in her dress. It was beautiful. Lace and silk, fitted through the bodice, flowing at the skirt. She looked like someone from a magazine. Everyone in the boutique turned to look at her. "What do you think?" She turned in a slow circle, watching herself in the 3-way mirror. "You look perfect," I said. And she did. That was the worst part. She looked exactly like a bride should look. Happy. Radiant. Certain. The seamstress pinned and tucked. Mom took photos. Vanessa talked about the timeline for the day, how she wanted her hair, which jewelry she was still deciding between. I stood to the side and nodded at the appropriate times. "Claire, you're being quiet," Vanessa said, catching my eye in the mirror. "Just tired," I said. "You're not still upset about Italy, are you?" The seamstress paused, pins between her lips. Mom looked at me. The boutique suddenly felt very small. "No," I said. Vanessa smiled. "Good. Because honestly, you're going to thank me one day. Traveling alone is depressing. You would have hated it." I felt something crack inside my chest. Very small. Very quiet. "You think so?" I said. "Oh, totally. You're not really a solo traveler type. You'd get lonely. And Italy's expensive. You're better off saving that money for something practical." Mom nodded. "She's right, honey. And you can always go when you have someone to go with. It'll be more fun that way." I looked at my sister in her perfect dress, at my mother with her champagne, at the seamstress who was trying very hard to pretend she wasn't listening. Yeah, I said. Maybe. We finished the fitting. Vanessa hugged me on the way out and told me I was the best. Mom kissed my cheek and reminded me about the venue tasting the following week. I got in my car and sat in the parking lot for 15 minutes before I could make myself turn the key. When I got home, there was a letter in my mailbox. Official. Federal Building letterhead. My passport application had been processed. I could pick it up in 3 days. I held the letter in my hands and felt nothing. That weekend, I didn't answer Vanessa's calls. I didn't go to family dinner. I stayed in my apartment and researched flight prices. Florence was more expensive now. Peak summer season. But there were other places. Croatia. Portugal. Greece. I didn't book anything. I just looked. Sunday night, my dad called. Your mother's worried about you, he said. His voice was careful. Dad had always been the diplomat. I'm fine. She says you're pulling away from the family. I'm just busy. With what? I didn't have an answer for that. My life was work and grading papers and occasionally meeting a friend for coffee. I had no hobbies. No partner. No plans beyond getting through each week. Claire, Dad said, I know you're disappointed about the trip. But Vanessa didn't mean any harm. She flushed my passport down the toilet. Silence. I know, he said finally. That was wrong. But she's stressed, and she's sorry, and she's your sister. Family forgives. Does family ask for forgiveness? Or do they just expect it? More silence. She needs you, Dad said. This is important to her. And what's important to me? He sighed. Don't be selfish, Claire. This isn't about you. I hung up. My hands were shaking again, the way they had in Vanessa's bathroom. But this time it wasn't shock. It was something else. Something that had been building for weeks, maybe years, pressing against my ribs. I picked up my phone and scrolled through my contacts. There had to be someone I could call. Someone who would understand. But my college friends had scattered after graduation. My work friends were friendly but distant. The people I'd dated had moved on. I'd spent so much time being available for my family that I'd forgotten to build anything else. I put the phone down. The venue tasting was Tuesday. I didn't want to go. I thought about making an excuse, claiming illness, saying I had a work obligation. But I knew what would happen. Mom would call. Vanessa would text. They'd wear me down with guilt and disappointment until it was easier to just show up. So I went. The venue was beautiful. High ceilings, chandeliers, windows overlooking a lake. Vanessa and Derek were already there, sitting at a table with the event coordinator. Mom and Dad arrived right after me. We sat down, and the kitchen staff brought out samples. Salads. Entrees. 3 different cake options. Vanessa talked the entire time. About napkin colors and table arrangements and whether they should do a champagne tower or a traditional toast. Derek nodded and agreed with everything she said. He was good at that. Agreement. Claire, you're not eating, Vanessa said. I looked down at my plate. I'd moved the food around but hadn't taken a bite. Not hungry, I said. You have to try the salmon. It's what we're thinking for the main course. I tried the salmon. It was good. I said so. Vanessa beamed. See? I knew you'd love it. The coordinator went over the timeline. Cocktail hour. Dinner. Speeches. Vanessa wanted me to give a speech. Of course she did. She'd mentioned it before, but now it was official, added to the printed timeline. Just something short, she said. About growing up together. Funny stories. You know. I nodded. On the drive home, I tried to remember funny stories about Vanessa. There had to be some. We'd shared a room until I was 12. We'd gone to the same schools, had some of the same friends. But when I reached for specific memories, they all felt the same. Me helping her with homework. Me covering for her when she stayed out too late. Me listening while she talked about boys, auditions, internships, dreams. I couldn't remember the last time she'd asked about mine. The passport arrived on Thursday. I picked it up from the federal building during my lunch break, the new one stiff and unmarked in my hands. I sat in my car in the parking lot and flipped through the empty pages. No stamps. No evidence I'd ever been anywhere. I put it in my glove compartment and went back to work. That night, I started writing Vanessa's speech. I opened a blank document and stared at the cursor for 20 minutes before I typed the first line. Asterisk, my sister has always known exactly what she wanted. Asterisk. I deleted it. Tried again. Asterisk, growing up with Vanessa meant growing up in the orbit of someone who shined brighter than everyone else. Asterisk. That felt true, but also cruel in a way I couldn't use at a wedding. I closed the laptop. Friday after class, one of my students lingered. Marcus, a junior who actually did the readings and asked questions that suggested he'd thought about them. He approached my desk hesitantly. Professor Whitman, can I ask you something? Of course. That essay question you assigned, about choosing between personal fulfillment and family obligation, is there a right answer? I looked at him. 20 years old, maybe 21. Whole life ahead of him. Why do you ask? Because every time I start writing it, I feel like either answer makes me sound selfish or like a pushover. I smiled, but it felt tired. Maybe that's the point. Maybe some questions don't have clean answers. But what would you choose? I thought about the passport in my glove compartment. The speech I couldn't write. The little fractures that had been spreading through my chest since Vanessa flushed away my trip. I think, I said slowly, that the question assumes those two things are always in conflict. That you can't have both. But maybe the real question is whether the people asking you to sacrifice actually need you to, or if they've just gotten used to you saying yes. Marcus nodded slowly. So, it depends on context. It depends on whether you matter to them as much as they matter to you. He left looking thoughtful. I stayed in my office until the building closed, pretending to grade papers, actually staring at my phone. There was a text from Vanessa asking if I'd started the speech. One from Mom reminding me about a cake tasting that weekend. One from my department chair about next semester's schedule. Nothing that asked how I was doing. Nothing that wondered what I wanted. I drove home and opened my laptop again. This time I didn't try to write the speech. I opened my bank account instead. After the Italy cancellation, after buying Vanessa's gift, after the passport replacement fee, I had $1,100 in savings. Not enough for a trip. Not enough for anything except existing. I closed the laptop and went to bed. Saturday was the cake tasting. Another beautiful venue, another afternoon of Vanessa making decisions while I nodded. She chose vanilla with raspberry filling. Mom cried and said it was perfect. Derek's mom said it sounded too sweet but was outvoted. I ate 3 different samples and tasted nothing. Afterward, Vanessa linked her arm through mine as we walked to our cars. Thank you for coming to all of these, she said. I know it's a lot. It's fine. No, really. I know I've been demanding. But it means so much to have you here. You're the only one who really gets me. I looked at her. She seemed sincere. Her eyes were warm, her smile genuine. For a second, I almost believed her. Do I? I said. Of course you do. We're sisters. Do you get me? She laughed. What do you mean? I mean, do you know anything about what I want? What I care about? Her smile faltered. Claire, where is this coming from? You flushed my passport down the toilet. Oh my God, are we still talking about this? She dropped her arm from mine. I apologized. I said we'd help you rebook. What more do you want? You didn't apologize. She blinked. Yes, I did. No. You said you felt terrible. That's not the same thing. This is ridiculous. I've been under so much stress, and you're holding one mistake over my head like I committed some crime. It wasn't a mistake. You did it on purpose. To make me stay. Because I needed you. Her voice rose. A couple walking to their car glanced over. Vanessa lowered her voice. Because you're my sister and this is my wedding and you were going to miss important events for some selfish vacation. There it was again. Selfish. The word they'd all been thinking but only Dad had said out loud until now. It wasn't selfish, I said quietly. It was mine. What does that even mean? It means I wanted something for myself. Just once. Something that had nothing to do with you or Mom or anyone else's timeline. Vanessa stared at me. Wow. Okay. I didn't realize you resented me so much. I don't resent you. You clearly do. You've been acting weird for weeks, and now you're starting a fight in a parking lot because I asked you to be part of my wedding. You didn't ask. You assumed. And when I tried to do something else, you destroyed it. I destroyed, she laughed, sharp and incredulous. It was a passport, Claire. A piece of paper. You can get another one. You did get another one. But I only get one wedding, and you're trying to ruin it by making everything about you. My throat felt tight. I'm not trying to ruin anything. Then stop acting like a victim. Stop making me feel guilty for wanting my sister at my side during the most important time of my life. Her eyes were wet now. Do you know how hard this is? Planning a wedding, dealing with Derek's family, trying to make everyone happy, and the one person I thought I could count on is treating me like I'm some villain. I wanted to tell her she'd made herself the villain, that she'd taken my dream and flushed it away and then made me comfort her about the stress of planning a party. But she was crying now, mascara starting to smudge, and I could see Mom watching us from across the parking lot with a worried expression. I'm sorry, I heard myself say. I didn't mean to upset you. Vanessa wiped her eyes. I just need you to be here for me, okay? Can you do that? I nodded. She hugged me, and I stood there with my arms at my sides for a moment before I made myself hug her back. That night, I finished the speech. It took me 2 hours. I wrote about how Vanessa had always been the brave one, the one who knew what she wanted and went after it. I included a story about her winning the lead in the school play, another about her getting her dream job. I made it funny and warm and exactly what a maid of honor speech should be. I read it over 3 times. It was good. It would make people laugh and cry in the right places. It felt like swallowing glass. The next 2 weeks were a blur of wedding obligations. A bridesmaid brunch. A rehearsal dinner planning meeting. Dress alterations for my maid of honor gown, which Vanessa had chosen in a shade of dusty rose that washed me out completely. I showed up to everything. I smiled. I helped. I played my role. At work, I was distracted. I lost my place during lectures. I gave a student the wrong feedback on an essay and had to apologize and redo it. The department chair pulled me aside and asked if everything was okay. I said yes. He looked unconvinced but didn't push. Britt, the quiet student from the back row, approached me after class one day. Professor Whitman, I just wanted to say, I hope things get better. Whatever you're going through. Thank you, Britt. That's kind. She hesitated. My mom always says that people will take as much as you give them. That sometimes you have to stop giving so they remember you're a person too. I looked at this 19-year-old with purple streaks in her hair and an eyebrow piercing, and something in my chest shifted. Your mom sounds wise, I said. She's okay. Britt smiled. But she's right about that part. That night, I looked at flights again. Not to Florence this time. To anywhere. I scrolled through destinations I'd never considered. Iceland. Morocco. Vietnam. Places that had nothing to do with old dreams or careful plans. I didn't book anything. But I left the browser window open. 3 weeks before the wedding, Vanessa called me at 10 p.m. I was already in bed, half asleep. Claire, emergency. The florist just cancelled. Something about a scheduling conflict. I need you to help me find a replacement tomorrow. Tomorrow's Sunday. I know, but we're running out of time. Can you come over at 9? We'll call places together. I closed my eyes. Vanessa, I have 140 essays to grade by Monday. Please. I'm freaking out. Mom's useless with this stuff, and Derek has golf. You're the only one I can count on. The only one I can count on. The only one who will say yes. Okay, I said. I spent Sunday on Vanessa's couch, calling florists, comparing prices, listening to her agonize over rose varieties. We found someone by 4 p.m. Vanessa hugged me and said I was a lifesaver. I went home and graded essays until 2 in the morning, my eyes burning, my head pounding. Monday, I handed the essays back late. I'd rushed through the last 20. They deserved better feedback, but I had nothing left to give. Tuesday, Vanessa texted. *bachelorette party planning meeting tonight. 7 p.m. at my place. So, one of them said, "What's the plan?" I had no plan. "I was thinking we could brainstorm together," I said. Vanessa frowned. "Claire, you were supposed to have ideas prepared." "I know. I'm sorry. It's been a busy few weeks. For all of us. But you're the maid of honor. This is literally your one job." The room went quiet. The bridesmaids looked uncomfortable. I felt my face get hot. "You're right," I said. "Let me pull some options together, and I'll send them to everyone by Thursday."
Vanessa sighed.
"Fine. But I need this to be special, okay? This is my last hurrah before I'm a married woman." I nodded and left as soon as I could. In my car, I sat in the darkness and felt something crystallize inside me. Not anger exactly. Something colder. Clearer. I went home and researched bachelorette party options. Wine tasting. Spa day. Weekend trip to Vegas. I put together 3 complete itineraries with pricing and logistics. I sent them to Vanessa at 11 p.m. She responded in the morning. "These are cute but kind of basic. Can you think of something more unique?" I stared at the message for a full minute. Then I opened a new browser tab and looked at my bank account. $1,100. The same amount I'd had 2 weeks ago because I hadn't spent money on anything except gas and groceries. I looked at flights to Lisbon. $800 round trip, leaving in 10 days. I looked at my calendar. The wedding was in 2.5 weeks. The bachelorette party would be the weekend before. If I booked this flight, I'd miss both. My finger hovered over the purchase button. I thought about Vanessa's face when she'd flushed the passport. About my mother saying I'd be better off saving the money for something practical. About my father telling me not to be selfish. About every time I'd said yes when I meant no, every time I'd shrunk myself to fit into the shape they needed me to be. I thought about Brit's mother's advice. About Marcus asking whether there was a right answer. I clicked purchase. The confirmation email arrived 30 seconds later. Flight to Lisbon, departing Saturday morning. Returning the Monday after Vanessa's wedding. I closed my laptop and sat very still. Then I started laughing. Quiet at first, then harder, until tears ran down my face and I wasn't sure if I was laughing or crying or both.